of tobacco is to plant and chase away snakes. And tobacco actually hurts animals, hurts plants, but the only species on earth that bears the devil in the tobacco plant is the human being. So that speaks to why tobacco manufacturers should never benefit from Build Uganda, Buy Uganda. So if government is going to encourage growing small-scale industries and that cigarette manufacturers in Uganda must at all benefit, then they should know, because they are not building Uganda by buying Ugandan products. That one takes me to the 2017 Excise Duty Amendment Act, which was through a protracted court battle between BAT Uganda and the Attorney General of Uganda, and judgment was entered this very year. They were contesting Section 2 of the Excise Duty Amendment Act of 2017, because it was amending Section 2 of 2014 of the Excise Duty Amendment Act. That was amended on the premise that they wanted to give preferential treatment, thereby promoting cigarette manufacturers in Uganda to manufacture and give them advantage over and above any other manufacturers, perhaps those in the East African community. What is very sad is that the 2019 Excise Duty Amendment Bill, that is before Parliament, only changed to include defining who is a citizen. And defining a citizen for purposes of the East African community. That now they were expanding the net to cover cigarette manufacturers that are in East Africa. And that any partner state that is manufacturing cigarettes, for them, they will not pay the tax. And that will be imposed on guys, for instance, who are in, is it called SADC or SADC? Guys who are in COMESA, guys who are in other economic blocks. Because the treaty that establishes the East African community says a citizen is any party to the East African community. And you know, I am talking many things, and you know that every East African partner signed the Common Markets Protocol. You have heard of the Common Markets Protocol, isn't it? Because now at the East African community level, we are at the Common Markets stage, which means free movement of goods, free movement of services within the East African community. And we also signed the protocol on the Common Markets Protocol, rather Customs Union. Meaning for tax purposes, if a product entered into the East African market through South Sudan, it is already on the Ugandan market. If it entered through Burundi or Kenya into Ghana, it is already within our market. And that means all tax authorities, Uganda Revenue Authority, that of Rwanda, and all those guys, will recognize that the product is not worth being imposed on a tax because it is already within our market. As of the protocol, which says free movement of goods, free movement of services. But then, in the entire East African community, the Tobacco Control Act of Uganda says, don't give any tax waiver, don't give any preferential treatment. And we are afraid the new amendment is not at all correcting the problem that was created in 2017. So, for tax purposes, and also it is important for us to tax, as Bakuma said, that is, every one of you knows here that tax avoidance is good. Tax avoidance is not illegal. Did you know? Tax avoidance. But tax evasion is illegal because the law forbids it. But then, in my introduction, I said, tobacco or cigarettes for that matter is not good business. Because, if anything, government is supposed to be imposing on them what we call public health taxes. Those taxes that deter people from consuming a product because it will harm their health. And I think I cannot underscore the damage to every part of the organ that cigarettes actually do. No wonder the cigarette manufacturers have also confessed that cigarette consumption will hurt your lungs, hurt your heart, and ultimately take away your life. But what does all these initiatives bring to us? In 2015, there is what they call the Addis Ababa Agenda for Financing for Development. You have extensively reported, but also you are aware that Uganda's national debt is increasing every other time, is it not? And it is important that Uganda increases its domestic revenue collection. And where best should Uganda tap? It is in the sin taxes. Sin taxes are those taxes imposed on harmful products. For today, I want to talk about cigarettes. And what are we asking of government? We are asking of government that reform the cigarette taxes, including the excise duty, including value-added tax, so that that cigarette can become extremely expensive. Because when it is expensive, and there are those that are addicted and cannot do away with it, they will continuously increase our domestic revenue collection. Not so. Because the more they buy, the more revenue we collect. But also, those that will be cut off because they cannot consume the very expensive cigarette will also be improving on our household income or even our revenue. Why? Because we shall get what we call a health gain. Not so. Because the WHO says if you start to quit, 10 years after, you'll be very much free from succumbing to any diseases that are caused by tobacco products. The reason why exposure to cigarette smoke in public places is on the increase. It's because Uganda's cigarette costs 50 shillings or 500 shillings per stick. So we have been doing a study in the slums. There is what they call, I think the Kenyans are the ones that call it harambe, where you mobilize money, or you can call it, I think, nigina here. You collect money so that you can buy something you call valuable, because it is expensive. So these young street kids, these young out-of-school children, or even those that are in school, they collect one by one, making a bundle, so that they can afford to buy a cigarette. That is why, in the law, the Tobacco Control Act, they are saying only and only buy a full cigarette pack. Yes? Because if you allow people to buy a single stick, then everybody will have. And also, because we said cigarettes are not a basic need, so there is no need for government saying, let us remove a tax so that every poor person can afford a cigarette. That is a mockery. Because it's not a basic need, but rather it imposes a very heavy strain on the budget. I'm now speaking about our budget advocacy. Every other time, we ask of government to increase a lot of money on the health sector budget. Not, I think it is even a nuisance for me to say that the Abuja Declaration signed by all African presidents requires of them to earmark 15% of the national budget and give it to the health sector. Not so. So, why now we talk about taxes? Because we know non-communicable diseases cost a lot of the health budget expenditure. Is it not? So it is about time that government earmarks, like it did in the HIV fund. In the HIV fund, you remember I think it is called the Prevention Against Transmission of HIV. So there is a section that establishes the HIV funds. And HIV funds are supposed to be earmarked from alcohol products, including even this water that you are drinking, including soda, that a certain percentage is collected and sent into the consolidated fund so that that money can be sent into trying to get medication or any therapy on people who are in the HIV. So we are asking of the same. After all, government already has a precedence that has already been done in alcoholic products and other beverages. Let the same be done. That any revenue whatsoever, but that revenue should be really high. When collected, let it be earmarked to fight non-communicable diseases. What we are asking of government is not far-fetched. Government in 2015 signed the Addis Ababa Agenda for Financing for Development. And one of the strategies therein, I think it is Agenda 32, it says that because the world has realized that non-communicable diseases are very expensive to fund and have imposed a lot of strain on the health budget, which definitely translates to household level poverty or abject poverty, governments are encouraged to earmark any money. After all, cigarettes and tobacco are the greatest cause of non-communicable diseases. So if such money is earmarked, that can finance for development.